Hi guys, Sandra here, and welcome back to my channel and to my first video of 2020. For today's video, I'm going to review Mary's gouache, which is known to be an inexpensive gouache made from China, as the price is about $19 for this set of 18 colors. And a big shout out to Olivier, my good friend, for sending me this gouache to try out, all the way from Australia, which I was very curious to try them. Olivier also have a YouTube channel and she is such a talented colorist. If you are into coloring pages, definitely check her out. I will leave her social media links in the description. So yeah, let's get into the video. Here we have this set of 18 colors, including 2 whites, regular white and titanium white, which I appreciate because you can't never have enough white when working with gouache. Each tube contains 12 milliliters of paint and we can see the color swatch on the tubes. Maybe we get more information about this paint, but I don't know Chinese, but luckily on the tubes, at least the colors' names are also written in English. When I first opened this set, I was surprised to see that the tubes were sealed, which I've never seen before with other gouache brands, but it's actually a nice touch, I guess, to preserve the paint as its original quality until you don't open them. So I just had to use the top of the cap to poke into the seal, and that's it. Although strangely, the mauve color is the only tube that has a different design from the others, but I have no idea why. As first swatch, the consistency of this paint was fine, but it felt quite dense and heavy. The colors are quite pigmented and they dilute well with water, but just watching them, I can't really understand how they perform, so I did some simple paintings to test them out. While I was painting these 3 branches with berries and flowers, I played with this paint to see how they perform by first laying down thin washes from the reactivated paint that dried on my palette from the swatches I made earlier, because as you may know, gouache is a water-based medium that can be reactivated with water once the paint dries. And I often use reactivated paint when it comes to paint thin, transparent washes. Then in some part I went over by laying down other colors on top with a thicker application to see how covering this paint is. Then I also laid down just thick application of paint, especially when working on the second green branch with red berries, to let me understand how this paint behaves, because gouache can be both used with thin transparent washes and with thick opaque washes. And in my paintings, I like to work with both thin and thick gouache. The first thing is just a minor thing, but I noticed that it took me some work with the brush to reactivate the dry paint, more like the paint remained stuck to the palette at first. It almost felt like acrylics, and that's probably why I felt the paint consistency to be dense and heavy, but it's quite a common thing among cheap quality gouache. But the paint does reactivate without problems, and it works the same as when fresh out of the tube. But overall, this paint doesn't lay down super nicely, both thin and thick, and it doesn't have that velvet finish as a better quality gouache would have. And the opaque and velvet finish is exactly the beauty of gouache. But compared to other cheap gouache brands that I tried so far, this is quite a common thing as well, that the paint is not super covering, especially this white is not very covering. If the paint is not covering, it means that when overlaying the paint on top of each other, you will still see the color underneath, and the finished result might not look the best, and it doesn't leave much room for mistakes if you want to cover something up. You might not notice that the washes aren't super smooth on camera, especially if you're just new to gouache, but to me, as I'm used to work with good quality gouache and I'm familiar with this medium, I can feel and see that it's a lower quality and it's not a professional quality. The colors are pigmented, but they don't look super bright to me, especially when mixing colors together. They easily becomes quite muddy. They lose quite their vibrancy, which I don't experience this often with other gouache brands. Also, the whites of Mary's gouache are a bit beige and not a bright white, so they are not the best white. But I do like the color selection here because you get the main and most important colors to create a very wide range of color combinations for any types of paintings, but they just don't look the brightest to me. With my review videos, I give you my personal impression and opinion about gouache brands as I try them and I see how they perform, as I'm quite familiar with this medium, so I can give you a more reliable information about the quality. But then it's always up to you if you want to buy this set or not. I'm just providing the informations to help you making a decision. But overall, I didn't have a bad experience using Mary's gouache. At the end of the day, all gouache brands can be used for making art. It's simply a difference of quality, which you will have a better and more accurate experience working with gouache, and you will have a better understanding of this medium when using higher and good quality gouache rather than when using a cheaper quality gouache. But I think Mary's gouache can totally work as a beginner set. So in my opinion, if you already tried gouache and you want to learn better how to use this medium, I would recommend you to buy a better quality gouache and don't get Mary's gouache. But if you are new to gouache and you don't know if this medium might work for you, or if you don't want or you can't spend too much money and there is nothing available around you, then go for Mary's gouache. You will still get something out of this paint and it's totally fine for practice paintings. And I don't mind the finished result of the paintings I made today at all. Just keep in mind that there is a better quality gouache out there. And I think that's it. For me, as I'm making these reviews, it's so fascinating how every gouache brand is different among each other, and I'm planning to make as many gouache brands reviews videos as I can. So if you'd like to see more gouache reviews and gouache content, stay tuned for that, and let me know in the comment section below if there is any gouache brands you would like me to try next. I have a playlist of all gouache brands I've already reviewed on my channel, which I will leave the link in the description if you'd like to check it out. If you have any questions, feel free to write them in the comment section below and I will be happy to reply to you. And I think that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the video was helpful to you and I will see you in the next video. Bye!